just so much fun to go around. We just couldn't keep it all to ourselves, Jacob. So Levin, why don't you give a big hello to everybody here for Game 8?
I had to get involved in the action, Taco. I mean, the games have been way too good. I couldn't watch for too long. I just wanted to jump in for at least the one game, if you'll have me.
I'll have you, bro. We could be here for the rest of the day. We could just put a day 3 tomorrow, and we could just cast all those games. But Levin, this fight, one that's been going all weekend long.
It's been relentless. Predoxy's trio have had the better of them of late, but can they do it again? We know both teams can do incredibly well when they survive off spawn, but the surviving part is the hardest.
And that's the real issue here, Levin, because Tyson, Chicho, Atris is the most split that we've ever seen both of these teams drop, but we know exactly what comes next. If they're not quick with these eliminations, if they don't clear this out fast enough, somebody else is bound to roll on over.
That one looked a bit different. We're used to seeing these guys get to scrapping straight away. Both teams getting some time to loot up.
And Benno actually got that first elimination onto Coyote. It looked like Yuma was trying to play aggressive and try to clean it up, but Benno just created so much distance, it made it too much of a risk to continue to try to push it down. But back and forth, these off-spawn battles looking to get chaotic more and more so. Tayson almost piecing one up, but they found an exit. Chicho is in a struggle. He goes down. That's the first one knocked, but Predoxy's down as well. That's going to be a 2v1 situation with Tayson getting knocked. It's all a Trish to try to get away. He's scrambling around. He evens the fight up with a knock onto Pablo.
But the damage has already been done. Gino's just not healthy enough to stick around. He can't even attempt to play for that revive onto Pablo.
And this is why these off-spawn battles between these two teams have been happening so quickly. Both teams are aware that once they take a second too long, this trio is going to roll on in and make it a nightmare. Again, Gino able to get away, and maybe his trio still has hope in this game, but not the start either teams would have wanted that.
And they're still gonna have to revisit some other method to reestablish all of that lost surge from those full eliminations. But Gino, still, bit of a mastermind play there. He knew the fail was the perfect moment.
This is it right now. Uncontested yet again, but the biggest difference from that last game to every other game before, there's more and more players looking up. There's more and more teams ready to contest it. They realize there's only 6 games left throughout the entirety of the day. 5 now with 1 already done, and their chances to overcome that point deficit is going right out the window.
I mean, for watching it on the sidelines, it doesn't look like anything really can get in these guys' way. I think they've showed their ability to still get so many points out of games, even if it's a game where it doesn't quite go their way. One of them still able to clutch. Can anything stop them today, Taco?
And that's the thing, though, is can anything stop them? Not necessarily, but can anything catch up to them? There's nothing scarier, in my mind, than a wounded animal, and that's exactly the position that Peterbot Cold and Ritual have been in after yesterday. But Gabzetta away, Scarpa, they picked up exactly what they needed to. Gino's not gonna have that opportunity to try and play hero.
Uh-oh, the third parties, maybe in this case, gonna be a 4th party overall. They're trying to move in, Braids, Visuals, and a Minish. They realize with 105 points, that's not nearly enough, or at least not close to what they thought they'd have. So they're now just going on the hunt. Eliminations, 4 points each. They look at Gabzetta, they look at Way and Scarpa. That's 12 possible points. 1 less team in their path, and a chance to try to at least steal away some of this loot and XP.
Thinking about Gabzetta, Way, and Scarpa having priority control right now, though, on the Queen. Braids and Minish Visuals, they see just how distracted Gabzetta, Way, and Scarpa truly are. They are lurking, they are creeping up ever so steadily, perfectly concealing themselves. But this is where patience and trigger discipline really come into effect.
But another team, that's a 5th party. A 5th party's now coming in towards the side. So even though Braids, Diminish, and Visuals are trying to lurk and grab some eliminations, surprise attack 1, they could be the ones that's happening to them. But Kadu, Tisco, Striker, instead of going for a lurk, they just immediately take the high ground. They said, hey, if you guys want to rotate out of Ranger's Ruin, you're going to get tagged up the entire time.
I still have no idea about a Minish's team just waiting in the wings. When that opportunity opens up, they will be ready to take it. But which team is going to play their hand first? Who will make that first move and knock the domino over?
Just in a little bit of a stare down currently. Gadu, Tisco, Striker. While they had seemed initially so intent on getting involved the way that they've now just put everything to a pause, surely this has got to work out for Visuals.
We've got to start to think so, right? We know in this lobby the thresholds for Surge are so high. Time is such a valuable currency. The more time you spend doing nothing, the less time to have to get Surge later on. Someone has to do something quickly, and I think they're starting to realize that.
Oh, but yeah, I think everybody's realizing things aren't pushing. They're not happening as quick as they should. The third parties don't got their opportunity to lurk for elimination. So Striker, Kadu, Tisco, they're going to be the first ones rotating on out. But Arc School and Salco, look, instead of going towards the south, typically they were fighting that team. Kadu and his entire trio. This time they're pushing up towards the north. Vortex, Goofy, and Mountain are going to be in their line of sight. School missing a crucial shot. They are in the zone, so every second is just more damage being ticked off. Salco's going to be the first one dropped, though. NA West is now in danger.
Arc, he was doing so much to carry his team yesterday, but School not going to have that opportunity. Vortex, Goofy, and Mountain defend their current hold, but it's also making you wonder what happens to Queasy now that they've been interrupted.
Yeah, this is going to, again, be a real test. Will it be a chink in the armor? Will it be another walk in the park for our OXR HQ team? Things looking like a walk in the park. I mean, we've seen them do this many of the games so far in this competition. And the crowd will chant for Vanya Bubu. They know things are looking good for their M8 boys right now. Oh! Uh-oh. Pixie will be fine. I'm sure the revive will come through. Got me excited there for a second. You know me, I like action. I like seeing the knock.
You were excited till you noticed that it was done by both, and then immediately you key back
I
in.
quickly remember, Taco.
A little bit of that third race action.
But is it okay? There's a third party, there's a fourth party, the fifth party's towards the north. Okay, we got a sixth party now joining Rangers Ruin. Honestly, when Rangers Ruin first appeared, this is the team that said, hey, we're ready to take a triple contested fight against Prodoxy and Taste Trio. They ended up changing things up a little bit, but now they're going back to that home base where they first called it. And now they're just trying to get damage onto anybody, and this might be a good plan for a team like Cold, Peterbot, and Ritual that's had struggles throughout the first 6 games on day 1. They're trying to figure out the formula for success here.
It's less about the struggles, it's more that they've just been homeless. There's nowhere on the map that they've been able to establish themselves, but the crash pad from overhead, getting the jump onto Scarpa, that is a big opening factor here for Peterbot, Ritual, and Cold.
Pixie Amzo Higgs, business as usual. And here's the thing about this team is they know how to fight. They know how to play for Surge. And I think that's why we see them in the top 10. It's just they kind of have the little hiccups, the little speed bumps towards the end game, maybe getting a little bit too aggressive, playing as individuals, and we do see them kind of stuck as duos. This game around, I want to see a change up. I want to see no matter what happens, right or wrong play, they stick as a full trio, because when you do that, sometimes miracles can happen. But you're seeing kind of one side, the north side of the map, kind of getting a little aggressive. Teams just trying to push each other in order to get their Storm Surge. On the south side of the map, with the zone pulling over in this direction, this is where you're going to see more and more of those Surge bases set up.
A lot more time to accrue some damage. A lot more flexibility here. Panzer, big weekend for him. And he's delivering so far. He's with 2 experienced LAN players. But he's shown that he can hold his own. Setty isn't a fan favorite. The crowd aren't loving Setty, but Setty is used to not being the favorite. He's used to people doubting him. And so he won't let that bother him too much.
Hill over here, the zone's kind of favoring them out of all 3 trios that are in this direction, but shots continue to pour in. And it doesn't even look like he knew exactly where those shots came from.
And look, I fully understand that Peterbot, Ritual, and Cole, these guys are such prominent players on their region and just considered top players overall. But even still, there's only so many drops that you can actually practice efficiently, and that has been a real thorn in their sides throughout this weekend.
Oh, no! The classic! They dropped down the Surge base, and with that fall damage, that's easy Surge for them. It's raining loot, and a chance for them to come back.
That is so sweet.
Not for paper.
Not for
Victory,
paper.
epic whale. But one team's slip up a little bit caught lacking. That's exactly what the adaptations you have to kind of anticipate heading into a day 2 format.
It's on the feed. Gagers going from that to getting another knock around the map. Canada bolts, rapid. They haven't had to move far from their actual initial drop spot. You see them saving the slurp truck down below for those extra heals. Seeing Rapid just kind of eye out the land right now. He is the IGL for the team, just trying to figure out where players are currently at, deep into the zone, and where they need to start to rotate to, so they have the least congestion. And in the background, Queasy, Swizzy, Merstache, that's a team that you gotta think that Kanata just spotted out. And you know what they're looking for, Taco Levin. They're looking for that bunker.
They want it, but are they going to actually be able to grab it with Kanata, Bolts, and Rapid so close by? He hard pressed to believe that Kanata would let that one go for free. Same case scenario for his teammates, but picks Demon's Storm. They've just been playing their own methods, and it's worked out heavily for them.
A team with such little experience, but you could never tell from watching them in the lobby. Set game plan, set structure, and excellent execution. The young Poles continue to make their mark on this lobby, but there is still plenty to do. Acorn and Aegis have plenty to do here. Foyo gonna have to be picked up.
Somewhere along the way, they might be able to find him, but if they aren't able to bring him back, it's basically an uphill battle for Acorn and Aegis. Merstache, Swizzy, and Queasy, though, they're still able to make their way towards the bunker. So Kanata, Rapid, Bolts, probably thinking better, not really willing to get caught up in this instance, but maybe they choose to wait outside. Maybe it's somebody else entirely that might be looking to shut Queasy down.
There's very few teams, Levin, that can even access this vault this early on in the game. So even there, they're not that close to another. They have to rotate towards that OXR HQ. They have to rotate towards the south. So for Vanya and Marius and Pixie, they're going to be able to kind of see Merstache, Swizzy, and Quizzy. If they memorize their outfits throughout the course of the game, they're definitely going to get that 100% confirmation and a chance to take them down if they're going to take it.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, that's something Vanya will keep track of. So we'll see if that ends up leading to a clash between the two teams. It's something Vanya predicted would happen. He said he wants to play for Height today. We'll see if he's a man of his word. For reason, Chap and Mr. Savage, they've done incredibly well at times throughout this competition, but speaking to Mr. Savage yesterday, he said, hey, I feel like we can do even better. We got another gear to go up.
Multiple games yesterday inside of the top 6. Can you imagine going from, hey, I'm done with Fortnite, to a chance to win even more money, continue to build your legacy? And for someone like Chap, he's a youngin'. You know what I mean? He's still earning his stride, earning his respect, and he's doing it in such a good fashion. Their road through Major 3 to get that qualification spot and then showing up big in day 1. And now they got to lurk onto Sphinx, Muzz, and Shadow, waiting for the countdown. 3, 2, 1, Sphinx goes down. Reason, Chap, Savage, they're ready to start this fight. That's going to get cleaned up with ease, but instead of running away, they realize with a 3v2, it's now or never. They need the points if they want to climb that leaderboard.
Reason, Chap, and Savage, they're trying to be as quick as possible. They don't want to allow the opportunity for Muzz or Shadow to escape, but they're just not fast enough. Chap, Reason, Mr. Savage, they're gonna have to be content with the body loot off of Sphinx alone. But Chap's still seeing if he can try and pull out a little bit more here. Good tags into Shadow's HP bar. They've got Muzz a little bit cornered, but Chap, Reason, Mr. Savage, this is all that they want. They're stuck just outside edge of zone, and they know if they clear out Muzz and Shadow, they're gonna have free rotation path with nobody left behind them.
See Reason, his instincts are to make plays happen. You don't want to be too ambitious, don't want to give them any room to put your team in a bad situation. Mr. Savage taking a big chunk of damage, and that will slow things down just a moment. And again, they did well to get the first. Of course, they want even more out of this. They know these guys are going to be weak, these guys are going to be on the back foot, so they'll continue to pressure, but let's not make any mistakes here, boys.
Yeah, they're out of zone. They're kind of thinking not too many teams even hear the noise, but get Zetaway and Scarf, but they definitely do, and they're moving in. But Muzz goes down. Chap trying to finish this fight, and they do so. Savage takes down Shadow, but the third party is now making it hard for them to survive.
That's the way to do it. You saw Savage, Chap, both shotguns in hand, playing together, taking advantage of the man advantage, and now that puts them in a much more favorable position. Well played from Chap, Savage, and Reason.
Not the same story, though, for Clicks. Visuals, Braids, and Diminish. Since it didn't work out at Rangers Ruin, they're going to have to find that surge elsewhere. And unfortunately, it's only Clicks, last man standing from his team, and just being absolutely battered. There's no way he's going to be able to withstand the pressure of Braids, Visuals, and Diminish coming out on top.
Not every day you see teams carrying away that minigun just to melt through those builds. You're not going to be able to hold the box at all, but this is exactly how that fight started. A lurk play coming out of a minute. He dropped a mini shed on Hate's head, and they went in and cleaned up that last elimination onto Clicks.
And you can see the frustration on Clicks' face when he went down. Such a frustrating way to get out of this game. And they'll have to hit the drawing board.
Malabuko walks being all it takes is a quick pan over, and M8 is going to send a surging roar through this arena. That has got to be such an amazing feeling, but saw a glimpse of Mustache just now, and this could be trouble brewing for both of these teams.
Yeah, and you know, Taco, you'll know better than anyone else commentating over this trio this year. They're so good when it comes to momentum. They pick up that first win, they keep things rolling. This game will be a big sign of whether or not these guys are really here to play in this competition, whether it was a one-hit wonder.
Especially after that Game 7 win being in such a commanding fashion too, but that's the gameplay that we were almost expecting to see in day one, but as long as they manage to capture that kind of performance in this secondary day, there might not be a point amplifier, but there's still plenty of opportunity to catch up on some positioning in the leaderboard.
Yeah, I'm always saying you got to leave no regrets behind when you play on such a big stage like this with a huge life-changing amount of money. And I think yesterday, some teams may have played just a little bit too safe compared to how they played during the majors to qualify for this global championship. Being able to go back last night, VOD review, and really figure out what was going wrong. You're seeing a more aggressive pace coming out from some of these teams. Not exactly every step of the way, but when they get a key knock, when they get some good damage, they're now starting to play more and more aggressive, and most importantly so, more and more teams, just like Poyo, Agers, and Acorn that we see here, are willing to contest that high ground in the later portions of this game.
Gentlemates will certainly be happy to see Poyo back up and in the running, but you have to wonder, Levin, what does their surge actually look like? They seemed a bit desperate there, trying to find some additional surge trades with Agers, Acorn, and Poyo, but it's the backdrop pressure. iDrop catching Acorn completely off guard, but there's such a direct path that they have to take into zone. They can't sit outside any longer, and it's just making them too prone to being picked off in the process.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough game to fight your way back into. So many of our teams here just set up so well. Everything looking incredibly cozy for Dimash, Dharma, and Pix right now. And they'll continue to pressure some of the teams looking to make their way on into that safe zone.
Just gotta let it sit and appreciate it after all, but Poyo, Gentlemates, they can hear everything surrounding them, but Poyo, he's gonna look to try and close in on the surge base. Again, desperation factoring in, heavily 500 below. They've got to get damage online. They've got to do it ASAP before they find themselves being taken out of this lobby entirely. Poyo, Agers scrambling, but it's not enough. They can't stand tall. Cammy, Hadi, and iDrop now benefiting exclusively from those siphon materials.
Cammy could smell the desperation on those guys, and they capitalize. Unfortunately, it was always going to be an uphill battle for Poyo and his trio. That was a tough game, but there's still a couple more for them to get back in it. Cammy, though, now looking much better off after being able to pick up some of them siphon mats.
Yeah, and it was actually iDrop who got that initial knock and elimination onto Acorn, leaving them that far below the damage threshold. But now the zone pulling up over towards the north. This is a good zone for the majority of the lobby. There's not too many different elevation changes, especially drastic ones at that. It's just as long as it doesn't pull towards the west. That's what the the entire lobby has to be hoping for right now, including Pings, Walks, and Malibuka. From high ground, victory royale in that last game to low ground for now. But this is exactly kind of the same pace they were taking. It wasn't until zone 10, maybe even 9, that they actually went up for that high ground and held it for the rest of the game. But you're seeing some teams above the damage threshold with their eliminations, but 4 eliminations though, Veno, Vico, and Flixie, they're 178 below the damage threshold. They know they have their work cut out for them and get focused outside of the lobby, making it hard for them to find their way in without burning through these materials.
They've at least got an ample amount of mats though, so they're not too pressed just yet, but they're gonna have to start to kick things into overdrive because Vico, Flixie, Veno, they're still sitting underneath that damage threshold. They've got Oceania directly next to them. This is the first fight they can find. This is the first fight they're gonna take, and Anon immediately beamed, thrown back. That's all the damage that they needed, just barely pushing them above the threshold line.
Those are the fights that they strive for. Those are the fights that they are so effective in. We've seen it all year long. They'll find themselves in tough situations like that and create their way out of it.
511 damage here. Kanata, Bolts, and Rapid. They had a fantastic game number 1. Unfortunately, they weren't able to pick up that VR, like Kanata said, to start the day, but they're here again with another opportunity with Rapid and Bolts by his side. His IGL, his Fragger, that's a lot of confidence that's continuing to brew in that trio. Same here for Pixstorm and Demus. I said underdogs to top dogs. Levin, this team is probably one of the biggest surprises in EU, right?
Yeah, these guys have been phenomenal. We've highlighted it so much. But this is another example of a game where they're playing at their own pace. Excellent timings. I know when we've spoken to Coach Sven, he's always talked about the preparation of these guys being so important. They understand how to play this lobby. And again, this looks like a game where we will probably see them in that top 5, top 4 towards the end.
Pixie Marius, they want this. They're starting to get a little bit of posturing now. 8th zone. They're ready to maybe try and make that approach towards holding height, but it's still very early.
Is this the Banya Boo height game? Are we finally getting to see it here on land?
We finally got a chance here. 411 points. These are the ones that are essentially hot on the heels of that first place team. They're building out, looking for opportunities to reconnect. You see Marius focusing down that second height. It may not be an AR, but the damage is still there. But Flixie and Veno, they both go down. Vico's still 59 below the damage threshold. He does have minis, he does have some big pop, even a med miss. But the miracle thing is that Storm Surge is going to turn off. It's going to reactivate later on in this game, but at least he knows where he stands.
But they were just constantly teeter-tottering for far too long on that surge threshold. Mr. Savage in a very similar position. He's just trying to get out of the low ground, but he won't get the chance. Chap falls directly after him, and that's going to be a little bit of open ground now for somebody else to try and roll through in this ultimate lower layer. But still, Swizzy, Mustache, Tweezy, they are plotting for that height take.
Yeah, it's never a good sign when you see a team fighting on zone transition. You want to be ready to rotate. These guys are Queasy scouting out the rotate. Where can he find an angle to use that crash pad? Gonna have to create more space to do it.
That one's going to be easy. Gets to the other side with ease. He's not even distracted by the other players in his path. He knows, get to the front side of zone, control the pace, control the tempo, worry about it later. And there's very few players next to him on that side. Cammy, iDrop, Hottie going to be one of them. But on the high ground, there's not been very many teams that can contest them. Pixie, Marius, Vanya, this could be their chance to get that VR. And they get another elimination on the pump. Can they clean it up, though?
I like this from Vico, though. Still just out of sight, out of mind, but he might be able to make a huge play if he can find another elimination. Said no, Vico jumped on first. That's going to be the dream ending here in Game 8 for Veno's team, but Alex resigns. They've just got a little bit more time, a little bit of an extension here. They're going to take the crash pad front side zone, but lower layers have already established themselves. They've got to be careful of not getting chopped out.
Pixie, Darm, Demus, waiting till the last second, crash pad into the front side of zone. Swizzy, Mustache, Queasy, they have the materials. They did not play for the high ground. They're okay being down low in the dirt. They know they're the most dangerous team at this event, especially if you run into them. Kanata, Bolts, Rapid, scrambling around, trying to heal up. The splash is coming out, but that's the last of the white heals that Kanata has in his inventory. Up above, there's a team trying to put pressure down. You see them scrambling and forcing them to split up momentarily.
The respect, though, from Queasy to still make the commitment towards the low ground. Meanwhile, Bolts, Kanata, Rapid, just doing everything they can to try and keep themselves up and and in the running here. But Aja, Cammy, they're still looking to break through. They recognize there's an opportunity here. There's a team that might be weak, but they're shooting into a box that nobody's even inside.
Those going to the south, they got lots to figure out. Swizzy, Queasy now as a duo. We've seen them dominate from the skies, but how good can you guys take it? Swizzy wants it, looks to chop. Pixie, Marius, Vanya. They've held on well for now, but this is the hard part. Can they continue to hold on as the 11th zone ends?
See the double pump coming out from Marius. That's not going to deal a ton of damage or even pressure. Marius is dropping down along with Pixie, staying to the backside of zone. They're making sure nobody can flank him as Bolts takes down Cammy. He is a solo champion on land before, and third parties. He's looking to have a masterclass performance here. 600 points. Swizzy is just trying to keep them going across that finish line, scrambling in and outside of the zone. The slurp juice just a little too late.
He just can't do it. Storm sickness coming into effect. They spent so much time outside of the zone, but now Watts trouble on the high ground here for Vanya. Boo Boo. Watts still trying to see if he can commandeer it for himself. Gonna have to use the Flowberry Fizz. Probably only a matter of seconds before he might get chopped down or force the drop and enter the fight down below. Panzer, Setty, and Japko, though, 11, they're so healthy.
Japko, they're looking strong, but can they close it out on the low ground? Demush will fall. And so now, Setty, Panzer, Japko looking to remind the rest of the competition that they are in it for the win. Watts has no more HP to hold on. The tree will be the only thing stopping it. They just need to connect with the final shot, and the Storm will do the job. They are the favorites, but right now in Leon, you must give them respect. They win game number 7.
Setty, Japko, and Panzer. I started the day